Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year. Oh my gosh, this is our first video of the year and I'm so excited. So for this video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. For the first time ever, we have a guest speaker on our platform and it's no other than my younger sister. So Cynthia, go ahead and introduce yourself quickly.
Hi everyone, I'm Cynthia. I am currently based in the US and I am a data scientist. I just completed my master's last year and I started working for my current company.
All right, thanks Cynthia for joining us today. We're so excited to have you and we're looking forward to all the wonderful information that you're going to be sharing to our viewers. So I'm just going to dive right into the video. So today's video is going to be talking about the differences between the data scientist role and the business intelligence analyst role. I'm sure we all know these are two popular roles in the data space, and I just thought it would be interesting to maybe talk about the differences between these two fields, especially given that my sister and I are both in the data space. I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to talk about our different experiences in our different roles, just to give you guys an idea of what to expect in either field. So we're just going to go right into it. So Cynthia, can you please talk about how you got into the data science field and what your background was before you got into data science?
Sure. So my undergraduate degree was in chemical engineering. Back then I was hoping, after graduating I'll get a job and then I'll work for 3 years and then I'll come back and do my MBA, but then that didn't turn out as planned. I went straight into my master's. In deciding my master's, I had this friend who had a similar background as me, started with chemical engineering and then did petroleum engineering, and obviously the job market wasn't looking too good. So that person went into data science, and in talking with the person, I noticed, they have a lot of, interviews and lined up for themselves. They're getting job offers with this data science field. So I was like, okay, let me go research this field because obviously that seems to be working more than the engineering. So I did some research and then I spoke with the person and the person encouraged me to go for it. So I signed up for the master's program at the University of Houston. And 1 year later, I got my degree. It was a really intense program, but it was a great learning experience. I learned how to code while learning, the basics of like machine learning, deep learning, and all of that. And here I am right now.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so impressive. I'm so proud of you. We're all so proud of you. Fun fact, guys. Fun fact about my sister and I. We both have similar stories about how we got into the data space. Just like my sister, I came from a different background, not chemical engineering. I did accounting. I got my bachelor's and my master's in accounting, and worked a little bit in accounting before eventually transitioning into BI, into business intelligence. And it's when I moved to Canada that I transitioned into BI. I did a 1 year diploma program, just like I had mentioned in one of my previous videos. And after my 1 year program, I was able to secure some internships and then eventually a full-time job in my field. So it's really interesting to see that you don't need to have a data analytics background to be able to find a job in data science, in BI, or in the data space in general. So for any of you out there that's like looking to get into the data space and you don't have that background, you shouldn't get discouraged because like my sister mentioned, she came from a different background. I came from a different background. So it's really interesting to see how we were both able to transition into the data space. So Cynthia, can you please share a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like in your role as a data scientist? Like what type of tasks do you perform on a daily basis?
Sure. So currently I'm working on a project that involves like predicting dye loss in like the manufacturing process of because my company makes memory devices. So my project is being able to predict dye loss. And day to day, basically you talk with the data engineers, make sure that you get the right data, make sure that you get access to, access to all the information that you need to the systems and whatnot. And then you have to do then I have to do some data analysis, being able to understand my data, because obviously you want to know what you're working with in order to be able to solve the problem, right? So understand the data, understand the features, do some feature engineering, some data wrangling and all of that. See how the features correlate with each other and stuff like that. And then after that, when you've been able to narrow down your data to the things that you feel like you would need, then you go into like the modeling. So the modeling here, there are so many different algorithms and models that you can, use to build your model, obviously. So it's about trying, testing to see what works for your data, that would best get you the accuracy that you're looking for, obviously. So my day to day just revolves around doing things like that, testing and seeing what works, what doesn't work, seeing what features to include in your model, what not to include in your model, see if you're getting the results that you want and stuff like that. And then obviously constantly communicating with your teammates, your manager, to let them know that this is what you're getting, this is the progress you've made, this is the setbacks that you have. And then if there's any way that they can help, they obviously offer their help. But yeah, that's what my day to day looks like.
That sounds like really nerdy stuff right there, guys. By the way, my sister's a nerd. I didn't actually know
No,
this.
I'm not.
Yeah, she is. She is a nerd. I didn't actually know
I'm
this.
just trying to make money.
Like that's
And
money. I didn't really know this side of my sister until like she got into data science, and I must say I'm so proud of her, guys. I'm so proud of her. Like she's so smart, doing her thing, proud big sister moment. And by the way, I forgot to mention, it's thanks to me that she got into data science, even if she wouldn't admit that.
I just said here that I had a friend who introduced me to data science, and you come. Go, please.
I actually, first of all, gave you the idea to pursue a master's in data science because remember,
No, you
initially,
didn't.
even our mom is going to agree. Like she'll tell you whole heart. I remember when Cynthia got her job as a data scientist, my mom was thanking me. My parents were thanking me that
Because you kept telling them you're the one who you did not tell me. Trust me, you're not the one. I'm telling you. Shit.
role to play in this, and you get into data science.
Okay,
So that's
I'll let
really,
you have it so you can be happy. I'll let you have it.
but it's really funny because like before my sister got into data science, I always thought that like the role of a data scientist is a lot similar to the role of a BI analyst. I mean, like I knew there were some differences because I mean I had taken some courses, some online courses in data science because it's also a field that I'm fascinated with. I'm interested in as well. I'm like interested in knowing a lot more about the data science field. So I had done some online courses in it, but I didn't realize how different the role of a BI analyst and a data scientist could be until my sister started working in data science. Because from what you're saying, Cynthia, like your role involves like a lot of statistics, a lot of modeling, predictive modeling and stuff like that. Meanwhile, in my role as a BI analyst, I mostly work with databases. So I do a lot of ETL development. So I develop ETL jobs to extract data from multiple data sources, transform the data, and then load it into our data warehouse. And I also do a lot of data warehouse support. Which involves monitoring our daily ETL jobs to make sure that they're running fine, and then if there's any snag or if there's any issues with any of our daily jobs, I do some troubleshooting on that end. And then in my job, I also work on projects that involves a lot of data visualization. I develop a lot of Power BI reports to visualize our data in order to carry out our data analysis. So it's really interesting to see some of the differences between your job and my job. So what applications would you say you mostly work with, and what programming languages as well?
So daily, I use Hadoop. I work with Hadoop, and then basically our data is like in different areas. So like you have Snowflake, you have a Snowflake database. I get to use some SQL, not as much, but I do get to use SQL a little bit to be able to extract data, or even just see the data that's there that would be needed or not needed for my project. And then obviously there's also data in the Hive, in Hive, in obviously in the edge node that we're using. And so sometimes I have to extract data from there. But in building code and data analysis and feature engineering and all of that and building my model, I use Python. I haven't had to use R yet. I did learn R in during my master's program, but I haven't had to use it yet.
I'm actually really looking forward to learning Hadoop. I've always wanted to learn it, but man, like I've been so inconsistent with my data science online learning. So Cynthia, you probably have to teach me at some point. I'll probably
Of
become
course,
when I finally get committed to
at a
learning.
discounted rate.
It's really cool to see to know about the the applications and the language, the programming languages that you work with, which are actually a lot different from mine. I mostly work with databases, so I work with SQL Server, I work with Sybase, and then I work with SSIS for ETL development. I'm also familiar with data stage because currently that's where we have all our ETL jobs, and we're trying to migrate to SSIS. So I'm a part of that project for the ETL migration. And then I work with Power BI. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, I use Power BI to develop our data visualization reports that we use for data analysis. So those are like the main tools that I work with. I also work with Aqua Studio. Actually, I work with Aqua Studio for my data warehouse monitoring work or data warehouse support work, and I work with Mobile for quite a
Oh,
bit.
me too. So yeah, like we were able to access our Edge nodes through Mobile Xterm. That's what we use. Yeah.
Wow. No, me like I really access our Unix server through mobile extern, so it's really cool. At least that's one tool in common that we work with. Yeah, that's actually interesting. So yeah, those are like the main tools that I work with. And for programming languages, the only language that I work with is SQL. I mean, just like you, I had learned R back in my um a program that I took while I was doing my master's in Florida at USF, but I've never really used R in my role as a BI analyst. So I only work with SQL. I also learned Python actually on the side. Yeah, I learned Python. I've been learning Python for over a year now, but I haven't had to use it. I mean, I know there are probably like some, not probably, but there are definitely like some BI analyst positions that require that you use Python. But I know like SQL is like the big one. So that's what I mostly work with at my job. And would you say that you do like a lot of programming or fairly a good amount or just a little bit of programming?
I would say a good amount of programming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've had to do a lot of coding ever since I started. Um, Even during my internship, actually, my internship in this last summer, I had to develop a model that would predict like failure modes for adhesives, and I didn't realize how much code I had to write that summer. I had no idea I was going to be doing a lot of that, but it definitely groomed my coding skills, my programming skills for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had like the opportunity to also like apply my Python knowledge because I feel like you're not really that motivated to really get to further your skills or your knowledge in maybe like a programming language unless like you're working with it, at your work, at your job or something. So I feel like it's so much easier to learn a programming language if you're actually working with it at your job. Like it makes you keeps you more motivated to actually further your skills and your knowledge in that language. So in my case, I don't do heavy programming. I do like fairly a good amount, like in between, heavy and a little because I work a lot with SQL. Since I do a lot of ETL development right now. When I started off in my current role, I wasn't doing a lot of ETL development, but in the past months, I've been doing a lot of ETL development, so which has required me to do a lot of SQL or SQL programming. So I would say in my case, I do like a fairly good amount. Like Cynthia, would like do you think that it will be required or it is required for someone to know Python, for example, to know a programming language before they can get into the data science field or to get a job in data science actually?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as a data scientist, you're basically an analyst, right? Before, and then you have to do a lot of feature engineering to tailor your data to, your model or to whatever that you're trying to achieve. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that, with no coding skill. You can't. I mean, at the very least, like even learn the basics, I have to give a huge plus to Google and YouTube because that's definitely, our best friend. Stack
Right.
Overflow. So like even if you don't know everything, at least there's resources out there that would definitely help you. But you don't want to get into data science without knowing how to code. Like it's inevitable. If you're trying to get into an IT role that doesn't require coding, I mean there's different ones out there, but if you're trying to get into data science, I guarantee you're most likely going to need to code.
I was gonna say like what programming languages, what are the popular ones out there for data science?
Python. Um,
R. Python and R.
Python, R. I don't hear a lot of people using R, to be honest. Yeah,
I feel like it's just recently because I know before R used to be like the popular one in the data science field. So maybe it's only recently because lately Python has been gaining a lot of traction. Like a lot of people in the data space now are like using working more with Python than R. So which is
yeah, definitely. I think because Python is just a strong enough tool, you don't see a lot of people needing to use R anymore. Like even for statistical analysis, I mean, I think you can still have that in Python, honestly, without having to go through R,
oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. The different Python libraries that you can use to do your statistical analysis. So
Exactly. SQL, I mean, it's good to have some SQL knowledge because obviously, like, depending on the company you're in, on the role that you're playing. Ooh, why is this lighting doing that?
don't worry, we still see your glow. Like
But yeah, depending on the company you're in, the role you're in, or the project you're in, like, the amount of skill you would need varies, right? The type of skill set you need would vary. Like you said, Power BI, obviously, you don't need to do any hardcore coding or anything. Um, but probably there's other people like in that kind of role that, depending on their project, they probably need to do a little bit of coding, you
and
know?
like in my I need to know SQL. Like you need to be, you need to have like be good in SQL, or at least like you mentioned, have foundational knowledge in SQL, right? Because
Exactly.
doing Intel development as a BI analyst, like you're gonna be working like I work with stored procedures, and this is stuff that I didn't know before, but it was easier for me to learn because I had that foundational knowledge of SQL. I mean, I wouldn't even say foundational because I actually had, I would say in between basic and intermediary knowledge of SQL. So I at least have some, I had some knowledge of SQL before starting my job as a BI analyst.
I have to commend you though. Like you've evolved. You've evolved over time from accounting to now you're doing all this SQL business intelligence stuff, all that. You're
Struggle,
doing
but
well.
I'm
You're doing
definitely
well.
are doing well. We deserve a pat on the back. Pat on the
Absolutely do.
thank you, Cynthia, so much. I think this is really valuable information, and I hope it is valuable to you guys watching this video. Because if you're trying to get into the data space and you're still trying to figure out what route to take, whether you want to go into BI or data science, or whether you want to become a data analyst, I'm hoping that this information that we're sharing today in this video is going to be helpful in helping you decide on what route to take. So before we wrap up, before we conclude this video, Cynthia, is there any advice that you give to anybody out there that is looking to get into the data science field?
I would like to say that you don't necessarily need a degree in data science to be able to get into it. I mean, a lot of companies would obviously preferably want you to have a master's or PhD before they get you into your door. But if you already have your degree, if you already have a bachelor's and it's not data science, you can still learn um, about data science through different other resources. Like I know a lot of people use Coursera platforms or Udemy platforms to be able to take some of these classes, like the data science training classes and all that. And people get into boot camps too. Boot camps will probably be like last like 3 to 6 months. You come out and you do know a lot of stuff. You obviously you don't know everything. The truth is you can't know everything. You're a lot of things you're going to learn on the job as well. So you're going to have to do your own research while on the job. But you don't need a degree necessarily to get into it. That one for sure, I can tell you, it's not like a must. Um, my other thing is just be just be practicing different practice with projects. You find projects online, find data sets online that you can work with. To be honest, I mean, there's no harm in that. Like, the more you know, the better, right? And you can only know more if you practice more. Practice coding, obviously. Those coding interviews that the companies give you, they're not, if you don't have a good coding background, it's going to be hard. So definitely do some practice. I know someone who recommended Lead Code. I don't know if there's probably other sources out there, but Lead Code is one place where you can practice how to code. And yeah, just go out, do your research, you
Yeah,
know.
thanks.
Do your thing. Don't let anybody discourage you. Okay. Know what you want. Don't let anyone discourage you because there's people out there like that. And yeah.
I totally echo everything that you said. Like, yep. Like she mentioned, even with the BI field, with data science, with any field, especially in the IT or in the IT field, in the data space, you don't need to have a computer's background or a data analytics background or degree to be able to get into the data space, to be able to get into data science, to be able to get into BI, like Cynthia mentioned, just do your research, find take up some courses online. Coursera is a really great platform. I am a huge fan of Coursera. Like that's where I take most of my courses, and they're really amazing schools, like top schools in the US, all over the world, that offer like really great programs in different fields, in BI, in data science. They're all offered there on Coursera. So check those out. Make YouTube and Google your best friend. I can't emphasize on this enough. Like Cynthia said, also practice programming, whether it's SQL or it's Python or it's R. You definitely want to do a lot of practice whatever programming language that you decide to learn. So this is really good advice, and I really hope that this is going to be helpful for most of you out there watching this video. So thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us today. Like, I really appreciate you taking time today to share this valuable information with us. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you like this video. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel. Please
Subscribe.
subscribe to my channel, guys.
Thumbs
And
up.
yep, yep. And stay tuned for my next video. But stay safe, guys. Stay safe.